Alright, this is a video on how to do the elimination method for those who still aren't sure or who maybe need just a little more instruction. So last week we talked about how we could solve a system by eliminating one of the variables by adding the two equations together. And we looked at examples like this one where if I just add these by combining like terms, what will happen is 4x then minus 2x gives me just 2x, right? 4 minus 2. But negative 5 and positive 5 will cancel out. Okay, really, we get 0, but 0 times anything is just 0, so we can just make that go away. And that leaves us with 7 plus 5 is 12. And that leaves us with a very easy to solve equation, right? Just 2x equals 12, and we can divide both sides by 2. Okay, so the elimination method is a way to solve a system. Of course, it requires us to have one of these positive-negative pairs. And so, what do we do in the case where we don't have that? What we would do is we would multiply both sides of the equation. So let me show you an example, and we'll do this two different ways. Okay, the first way is I'm going to notice, hey, the 3 and the 6, I could make those cancel out. And so I'm just going to think, okay, well, what if I multiply the top by negative 2? And this comes with experience, okay? And so I rewrite that. Distribute negative 6x minus 6y equals negative 30. And then I didn't do anything to the bottom, so leave that alone. Well, now if I add these together, okay, that's going to give me negative 4x. And that's going to give me nothing, right? That's just going to go away. And then negative 30 plus or 22 rather is negative 8. And then I'm able to solve. Okay, and get x equals 2. Once I know x, remember we do need to go back and find y. So what I can do then is pick any of the original equations. So I'll just pick this one, and I'll go back to the equation before I distributed anything, just because the numbers are smaller, although you could use these and it would also work. Okay, any equation will do, and now I can solve this, right? Now that I know the value of x, I am able to solve for the variable, subtracting 6 and dividing by 3. You can see that you're going to end up with y equals 3. And so our final answer is 2, 3. To show you a different way we could have done this, okay, let's just say you didn't happen to notice that that was going to cancel out. And we talked about this trick in class is you can always just take the two numbers in front. So the 3 goes here and the 2 goes here. And what that will do is it will always get these to be the same number, right? 2 times 3 and 3 times 2, always the same thing. All right, doesn't matter the order. Of course, that's going to give me 6 and 6. That doesn't help. Okay, I need that positive-negative pair. So I'm just going to pick one to be negative. Let's say I pick the bottom to be negative 3. But I could just as easily pick the top to be negative 2. It doesn't matter. So let's go ahead and do it this way. All right, I'm going to distribute that. I'll do that down here. 6x plus 6y is 30, right? Distributing a 2 to the top. And then also to the bottom, negative 6 minus 18 is negative 66. Remember, distributing the negative, just be careful. And now we can see, hey, when I add these together, okay, this time the x-coordinate's going to go away. Because it doesn't matter which variable cancels, it just matters that one does. And so now we get negative 12, right, and this will be negative 36. And then we can see by dividing, okay, I'm going to end up with y equals positive 3, okay, just like we did over here. And we could continue, and of course we would do the same things, and you would find x equals 2. Okay, so we can see the solution is going to be the same regardless of which variable you get to cancel. So it's up to you how you want to do it. Your work might be a little bit different than me sometimes, or different than a friend. As long as you're getting the same answer, though, that is okay. All right, so the step-by-step for the elimination method is as follows, and we wrote this down in class, but in case you need this again, First thing you need to do is get a positive-negative pair for one of the variables, and that might require you to multiply one or both equations, but sometimes you don't have to, right? Sometimes something's ready to go and it just cancels out right away. Once you've got that positive-negative pair, you add the equations together, leaves you with one variable which you can then solve for. It's usually an easy equation like 2y equals 12, and you just need to multiply or divide both sides. All right, then once you know the one variable that you solve for, you plug it back in. And it's easiest to go back to the original equations to do that. And then once you have your solution, we would also like you to check that solution by plugging it into the other equation. I'll do an example of that on the next slide. Okay, so you may want to try this one yourself at this point. If you feel like you understand, go ahead, pause the video and see if you can get an answer, and then I will go through it in a moment. Okay, so I look at this one and I notice, hey, 2 times 4 is 8. So I'm going to multiply the bottom equation by -4. And that's going to give me 8x plus 3y equals 7. And on the bottom, -8x minus 16y is 32. Okay. You may have done this a little bit differently. Okay, some of you using the technique I showed in class might have chosen to do like this. Maybe you put a 2 here and an 8 here and made this negative. That's going to work the same. Okay, so focus more on, do you get the same answer as me? That's what's more important in the end. All right, so I'm going to go through this with the -4 though. I'm going to add these together. That's going to cancel. That's going to give me -13, and that's going to give me 39. Okay, so just combining like terms. And then, hey, -13 goes into 39 -3 times. Okay, once I know that, I go back to one of the original equations. I'm just going to pick the top one. Okay, now I know my y coordinate, so I plug it in. Okay, and then just clean that up and solve. Okay, so adding 9 to both sides gives me 16, and then dividing by 8, and we end up with x equals 2. So as long as you had that solution, you did this correctly. Okay, even if you went about the work a slightly different way, you should have ended up with this result. To do the check now, okay, I used the top equation when I was trying to solve for x, right, in this work. So whichever equation you pick, you want to use the other one, okay, in the check step. Otherwise, you're just finding the solution and then plugging it right back into itself, which is kind of, it's what we call circular logic when you do that. It won't catch mistakes when you do that. So we plug it in and just make sure it's going to work. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times -3 is 12. 4 minus 12, that does equal -8. So we know that's the solution. When you're taking a quiz or a test, we do want to see all of these steps. Okay, showing the work, finding the variables, and also plugging it back in for the check is going to be worth a point. And then, of course, if the check doesn't work out, that tells you something's wrong, right? So it's to help you as well. All right, one more example for you to try. Again, recommend you pause the video at this point, try this one yourself, and then I will walk you through it. Okay, this one here, you could have gone about it a couple different ways. You may have tried to cancel the 4 and the 3. If you do that, multiply by 3 and 4. Notice that one of them is already positive. Okay, so you don't need to add a negative sign anywhere. In fact, you shouldn't, because it's already going to cancel out, right? This will give you -12, and this will give you +12. So you may have chosen to do it that way. A little bit faster, though, would be to notice that you could just multiply the top by -2. And by doing that, that's going to give me a -10, which will cancel. Either way, doesn't matter. I'm going to pick the way that does a little bit less work, though, if I can. Okay, and we end up getting this. Make sure you please rewrite them. Okay, don't try to do this in your head, and add those together. The y's are going to cancel, leaving us with 11x and 22, which, hey, that's going to work out nice. Okay, x equals 2. We take that, we plug it back in. I'll use the top equation as I always do, but it's really up to you. Just try to remember which one you pick, so when you're doing the check, it's easier to keep that straight. Okay, that's going to be negative 8. So we're going to add 8 to both sides and get 10, and there we end up getting y equals 2. Okay, they ended up both being the same. That can happen. The final answer, therefore, is 2, 2. So if you've got that, again, no matter how you went about it, you got it right, even if your work looks different than mine. And then you just want to check. Okay, plug that back in. So I'm going to pick the bottom equation because I used the top equation. And does that work out? Yeah, 6 plus 20. Okay, that's going to equal 26, and so you are good. If you can do these problems, you understand the elimination method. And so I'd just like you to do an assignment to show me that you do have that understanding. All right, on Canvas, you'll find elimination practice assignment. It is 4 questions. And it's, show me all the work, and please do the check as well, and submit that to Canvas when you're done. I'll take a look. I'll let you know how you're doing, if it seems like you understand or if you need help. All right, I'll try to give you that feedback. If you think you need help, of course, feel free to reach out to me anytime. Send me an email. We can meet on Teams, or we can just go back and forth over email, whatever's going to be easiest for you. All right, and we'll go over the assignment in class on Friday. I'll give you the answers so you can make sure you got them right. And we will probably spend one more day on this. So if you have questions, you'll be able to catch up then. All right, thank you, everybody. And again, if you need anything, just let me know.